Hi everyone, good evening. I am Tony Marinucci. I am a registered dietitian and owner of Tips with Tony. Thanks for tuning in. I have some people showing up on Instagram. Hey guys. Just a reminder for my Instagram people, I'm going to be looking at my Facebook camera. I do apologize, but it's easier for me to download the video and then add to my YouTube channel. That's why I'm looking at my Facebook screen. So once again, Instagram followers, I really appreciate you tuning in. Sorry if my eyes are directed at the Facebook screen. It's just easier for me. Tonight's topic, actually let's kind of backtrack. Before I get into tonight's topic, I just want you guys to know who I am. So you know I'm a registered dietitian. I'm a business owner of Tips with Tony. So I provide online nutrition counseling services through a HIPAA-compliant platform, mostly in the New York area. If you live in a different state, I have these like online support groups, and because legally I can't work with you on an individual level unless you live within the state that I work. But if you're interested in doing like an accountability group, I have my 30-day challenge. It's starting tomorrow. It comes with workout programs that are easy to follow, meal plan guidance, easy to follow. And it's just, I can help kind of tweak it, and I'm there to kind of answer any questions that you have, but it's not us working one-on-one on a weekly basis because legally, unless you live in New York State, I'm not able to do that. But it is a wonderful option, or for someone who does live in New York and is just looking for accountability, you know, kind of knows what to do, just needs to know, kind of figure out the little in-betweens of it all. It's a great group. So if you're interested in signing up for that, it's a little bit last minute, but the last day to sign up is tomorrow for my 30-day challenge. I'd be more than happy to send you the details. You can send me an email at tipswithtony@gmail.com, and we can get you started on that process. And also, one last update, I have my own podcast. So if you have not yet subscribed to the Tips with Tony podcast, go do it. Okay? The Gym Wits podcast, they just came with an awesome episode. If you haven't listened to it yet, it's all about fat, not so much if should we eat it or not, just like the fat in our bodies and what its function is. It's such a great episode of the Gym Wits. So if you have not listened to that episode yet, or you don't subscribe to us on the Gym Wits, I highly recommend that you do. So subscribe and listen on the Gym Wits on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Libsyn, what else? YouTube, or Tips with Tony, or if you want to make us both really happy, both of us. All right, so I had a request, and I'm really happy that I got this request because I have been providing these workshops or talks at different locations. This past Friday, I was asked to talk at a women's empowerment group, which they are a fabulous, fabulous group. The Women's Empowerment Group is a Facebook group, but it's also, they're working on getting being non-for-profit. It's definitely just a wonderful team of ladies just motivating and inspiring each other to excel in whatever career that they're currently in or life stage that they're currently in. So if you're on Facebook and you want to join the Women's Empowerment Group, comment below or message me, and I'd be happy to add you to that group. It's just a wonderful, amazing group of people. Anyways, they asked me to speak with them this past Friday, and I gave a presentation, and it was pretty much about, you know, what's a fad diet? How do we spot fad diets? Should we be following this diet or that diet, or should we just, you know, forget about all that and, you know, eat healthy and exercise? So that presentation went over really, really well. And then I had a request from someone who I think she's on here, Instagram, can't tell, Carrie Ann, I believe is her name, and I wanted to say thank you because this is definitely an episode I've been wanting to do, and it's going to be a 2-part live event. Tonight we're going to talk about just how the basics, how to spot a fad diet. We're going to define what a fad diet even means. We're going to talk about then what can you do instead if this so happens to be, hey Carrie, if this so just happens to be something that you're following that you're not thinking is going to be for you long term, what can you do instead? Next week, 8 p.m. Eastern time on Instagram or my Facebook Tips with Tony page, we're going to go really go into each diet. Like I'm actually going to break them down. We're going to do the ketogenic diet. We're going to talk about the paleo diet. We're going to talk about Whole30. We're going to go into great detail about those. But the reason why I'm waiting is, number one, I don't want you to even think, they might not be fad diets for you. So that's a whole other thing. But I want you to just at least know why this is such a concern and why, as a registered dietitian, I can get a little bit frustrated and upset about all these new claims coming out, and why we need to be cautious of these different things that are constantly just confusing us. So that's part number reason why I'm only talking about part one tonight. The second part is that on Monday, I have a wonderful opportunity to be a guest on a different podcast. It's the Everlast podcast, and I'll give you more details about that in the future. And they asked me to talk about the same exact topic, break down all the different diets out there. Does it work? Does it not work? Is there science behind it? Who is it for? What is it good for? So rather than me talking about that here, I want to encourage you guys to listen to that podcast, and this is kind of just going to be something to motivate you, to get you to do that. And then eventually on Tuesday, I'll kind of recap, go over anything that was missed on that podcast, and go into that a little bit in greater detail. All right, so anyways, without further ado, let's get started. So number one thing that I think is really an interesting fact, there's two really crazy facts. Number one is that the diet industry is a $20 billion industry annually. So people are literally coming out with new diets, new pills, new potions, new ideas, philosophies, and are making $20 billion every single year, taking advantage of people looking for help, looking to feel better, looking to maybe it's lose weight, get rid of bloating, fix their overall mood changes. Just figure out healthy eating. And the diet industry is making $80 billion a year annually on creating new diets. But my question to you is this, okay? If they found the solution, the one-size-fits-all solution, would they keep coming out with them? Would the average American have 4 weight loss attempts per year if they found a diet that works and works for everyone? The crazy thing to me is that these doctors, nutritionists, just your average Joe person, celebrities can endorse these products. They make a ton of money on it and claim that this is the diet that worked for me, so therefore it works for everyone. And that's my biggest pet peeve, because we all know that we are individual people. We have our own bodies, our own minds, our own lifestyle factors, work schedules, likes, dislikes, intolerances, food allergies, digestive problems or issues, or maybe lack of. But regardless, all of the different diets are compromised of different types, different percentages of macronutrients, different percentages of micronutrients, different amounts of fiber, different amounts of frequency of eating, all of these things that truly matter when assessing someone's goals or intake or what diet they should be following. So as a registered dietitian, it's a little bit frustrating, because you have to remember too, when my clients want advice from me and they want meal plans from me, I struggle, right? Because I can give someone a meal plan, but that meal plan is going to very similarly act like that fad diet, fad meaning temporary. It's a quick fix, it's a quick solution. It might get them to understand and grasp the overall concept of healthy eating, but inevitably, they're going to have to learn how to eat and when to eat, and I'm not going to be able to hold their hand. So working with a registered dietitian, we tend to take a look at what the person's eating, make suggestions and modifications off of that, ask a whole ton of questions. With my initial consultations, there are 45 minutes of me just asking question after question after question to really get an understanding of how I can help this person realistically and give them achievable strategies and behavior modification to actually sustain whatever changes that they make in their lifestyle. So it's not me just saying, here, follow this diet. If anything, if there's a medical condition involved, usually the doctor prescribes the diet and the dietitian helps them see it through. Okay? So that's pretty much why it's a little bit frustrating that these diet industries keep coming out with things and taking advantage of people. And it's another reason why I do what I do, which is blog and educate you guys. So I hope that after listening to this and watching this video, you're able to find either the diet that works for you, you'll be able to maybe prevent starting a new diet because it's only preventing you from finally just committing to healthy eating and exercising regularly. You know, whatever it is, I hope that you learn something from this talk, from this live stream that we're here on Facebook and on Instagram. Once again, Instagram friends, love you to death, but I have to look at my Facebook screen because I'm going to be downloading this video and putting it on my YouTube channel. So if you just tuned in, don't worry, it'll be on my YouTube channel. Also, I always write out a written document or blog post that coincides with my video, so that way you can read and also listen, and hopefully the combination of the two you absorb, retain, and put into action. So that's the idea. Okay. All right, so enough of that. Now let's get into it. Why do these diets fail? Before we get into, you know, how to kind of spot one, why do they fail? They usually fail, number one, is somebody's looking for a quick fix and they don't do a lot of research, and so they do it. And to be honest, a lot of these diets out there that claim to be work for everyone, they do work when you do them. But most of us, we know we don't always do them. So at the end of the day, if you don't do it and it's not sustainable, is it going to be effective, right? So a lot of us, they don't do a lot of research. They jump right into it. They fall off track, and there's no guidelines. It's so cookie cutter. It's so do this, not this, eat this, not that, eat this at this time with this pairing, that it's so easy. It takes all the guesswork out for you. But at the same time, if you fall off track and you don't follow it specifically or perfectly, then you feel like a failure, you fall off track, and then you just give up. And you're like, yeah, whatever. I'll try the next one. This one didn't work for me, so I'll try another one. Every time you yo-yo, every time you change your diet, you're screwing up your metabolism, you're confusing your body, you're confusing your system, and it's only making it harder for you, because now you have to get up that courage or that oomph or that decision to, okay, I'm going to change my life again. Like, it's so overwhelming to think about, like, you're going to make all of these changes at one time. And realistically, you might have to just take a minute, step back a bit, find a registered dietitian, ask them, you know, I heard about this diet. I have this medical condition, or I don't have this medical condition, but it's in my past medical history, so I want to prevent this condition. Is this a diet that I should stick to? Is this something that I should work with? Get a professional's advice before you just go and start a diet plan, because like I said, we're going to talk about the specific diets next week, but there is science and there are studies to support some of these diets, but that doesn't mean that it's necessarily for you. And even if it is for you, you're going to need support, which is another reason why these diets don't work, is people don't have the support to do it. They go into it on their own. They don't communicate with their family members or friends or anyone that they're doing it, or if they do, they might be communicating to the wrong people, and those people aren't supportive of it. And there's no accountability factor. There's no guidance. There's no what happens if you do go off track. That support system's not there. So that's how that term fad diet's temporary easily becomes about, is it's temporary when there's no support, you do little research, you fall off track, you don't get back on, or they're just completely unrealistic and you just can't follow them long term. So a great example of that is what I'm going to talk about, right? How do we spot these fad diets? So we know that they usually don't work, but how do we know? How do we know that this is a diet that's probably not going to work for me? Okay, I think the obvious thing is if it includes foods that you're allergic to or you have intolerances to, no, right? If you are allergic to gluten, or if you have a dairy intolerance and the diet is all dairy glutened up, not for you, okay? So on the reverse side, this gluten-free diet is for people with celiac disease or a high gluten sensitivity. There's no reason to restrict gluten from your diet unless you have issues digesting it. Okay, so those are like two very, I think, obvious reasons, maybe not so obvious, that I have to talk about. Okay, most fad diets eliminate entire food groups or the distribution of like maybe carbs to fat to protein are completely outside of the regular regimen. So examples of this are like very, very low carbohydrate diets, or no carbs at all, or you can't have any fruit, or you can't have any animal products, or you can't, like, it's all of, you can't have this, you can't have this, and it eliminates entire food groups. So that, once again, there might be studies to support some of those. There might be, if this might be an effective way for some people out there, but it might not necessarily be for you. So you have to think about that. Chances are, if you're eliminating an entire food group, so no carbs or no protein or no fat, you're eliminating your micronutrients. So we have your macronutrients, carbs, protein, fat, and water. Those macronutrients, the carbs, protein, and the fat, have micronutrients that are not, we don't have, the micronutrients that we get from our protein are not the same that we get from our carbohydrates. So yes, you may lose weight on this diet, or you may feel better on this diet, but you could eventually develop deficiencies along the line, which makes you have to take a supplement, take medication. It might change other metabolic issues in your system, might lead to other complications. So once again, it's a fad diet. It's not something you can sustain long term, okay? Another example of a fad diet is something that really restricts your calories, like so much so that, once again, going back to the micronutrient level, if you're a woman and it's telling you that you have to have less than 1,200 calories per day, or if you're a male and it's telling you to have less than 1,500 calories per day, you're going to be taking in less calories than your body actually needs to sustain just your overall healthy metabolic functions, just to keep you healthy. And then in addition to that, when you decrease your calories to that low, your then metabolism compensates and then decreases even lower. And so then it becomes harder to lose fat, burn fat, lose calories, lose weight in the long run. So you're really screwing up your metabolism that way. And also, restriction, as you know, leads to overeating. So once again, you might be able to follow it for a day or so, but then you're going to go off track. Something very similar to this, I think, is when diets recommend replacing all of your meals or most of your meals with shakes or bars, or it's like a whole system that's created for you. There's definitely exceptions to this rule. I'm not saying, once again, but it's not one size fits all. But for the most part, if it's a diet that's telling you that you have to buy their bars, their shakes, their meals, and it doesn't teach you how to cook, incorporate whole foods, natural foods, and it's just all like, here, just pay this and it will send it to you. You don't ever have to learn how to cook. You don't ever have to learn what to eat, why you're eating it, nothing. You just pay for it. It comes to you. Sounds wonderful. But is it sustainable? Probably not. Will you learn something from these programs? Probably, right? You might learn about portion control. You might learn about balance. Maybe you never really ate vegetables before, and now these meals they're done for you. They incorporate vegetables. So it's not good or bad. It's just prolonging the inevitable, which is, I got to learn how to cook. I got to learn how to eat. I got to learn when I should be eating my meals, how much I should be eating with them. And nobody expects you to learn that overnight. As a registered dietitian with a master's degree in nutrition and dietetics, it took me 5 years to develop a degree to learn about all different disease states and all different eating patterns. And even still to this day, since nutrition is a science, I'm still learning and growing and building my mind, and even my own personal growth and journey. I'm changing my diet, I'm changing my exercise regimen, all to align with my goals. So you always have to remember, what is your goal? That is important, right? So these diets out there, once again, may or may not work, but what is the end goal? Okay? And then lastly, I think it's very obvious, if it's a fad diet, if it recommends like pills or powders, or I think one that comes to mind, like apple cider vinegar, just take a shot of apple cider vinegar. Don't ever exercise a day in your life. Is that realistic? Is that sustainable? Do we really think that if someone came out with something that we would never have to exercise or eat healthy and all you had to do was take a pill or a spoonful of apple cider vinegar and have to do nothing else, that was it, right? Would the diet industry be making $20 billion a year annually? Will the average American have 4 weight loss attempts a year if they figured it out? Would I be employed? Would I have a job? No. Right? So the takeaway from this, okay, you know that these fad diets don't work, okay? The number one, if it claims it's for everyone, it's probably, once again, temporary, not for you. However, there are certain diets out there, like just general healthy eating practices. Eat your vegetables, make half your greens whole grain, lean proteins. There are some guidelines out there that, once again, they're guidelines, but there's been plenty of studies to support them. But at the end of the day, it still might not be for everyone. So if it's claiming that this is literally for anyone, doesn't matter your health history, doesn't matter your allergies, it doesn't matter anything. It's for anyone, it's a fad. It's not going to work for you. Or if it does, it's not going to work long term. Okay? All right. So, not to be a Debbie Downer, now we're going to talk about what you can do, since we know that a lot of these diets out there are temporary fad diets, probably not long-term or sustainable. So what do you do? Okay? Number one, and I talk about this all of the time, number one, you need to commit in your head that you are not going to give up on bettering your life, bettering your health, and developing healthier eating strategies. Okay? You have to decide that you're okay with the slow and steady approach and creating behavior change. You have to be okay with making swaps, like instead of getting French fries when you go to a restaurant, swap it out for a baked potato. Okay? Instead of not having any vegetables with your lunch, adding vegetables to your lunch. Even though these are small strategies, they are realistic. They will, over time, build that confidence that you need to achieve healthier eating patterns. And as you begin to slowly and steadily make these changes, they'll then become habit. For lunch, I usually have starch, a protein, and a vegetable. It's my habit. It's what I eat. It's not a diet that I'm going on. This is just the way that I eat. Okay? Number two. Thank you. Number two. I'm wondering, sorry, I got distracted because I'm seeing, I think someone's asking to come into my live feed. And I apologize, but you can't because I didn't plan this. But anytime you guys want to come into my live feed and you want to have it scheduled beforehand, I would love to do that. I love combining with other people, getting new ideas and stuff like that. So any other time you want to pop on, if you're an expert in the fitness industry, I'd love to have you I probably should ask Ryan from the Gym Wits, but anybody else, doctors, whatever your specialty is, I'd be more than happy to have you on so we can kind of go back and forth with some ideas. So that's what we can do for another live video in the future. All right, so what else do you do? Eat more whole foods, natural ingredients. If the ingredient list is something you can't understand and, it looks or appears highly processed, it's probably not good for you, right? That we know that sometimes those foods fit in our diet, but a majority of our food should be whole foods, okay? So really think about it, look at the plate. Is this good for me? Is this providing my body with nutrition? Or was this made chemically in a lab somewhere, right? We want to limit, at the same time, even if you're using whole foods, you want to limit the amount of fried foods, the amount of foods that have added sugar. A piece of fruit, fine. Fruit juice, maybe not so much, right? Added sodium in our diets. A lot of times the salt that we kind of cook with naturally isn't really as bad for us as the processed stuff that we see on the shelf. So kind of both eating more whole foods and limiting processed foods, you're kind of going to save on that added salt factor. Balancing your calories. So I talked about how we don't want to go on a diet that restricts your calories so much, like for 1,200 calories or less for a female or 1,500 calories or less for a male. But we also don't want to overdo our calories. You want to achieve a healthy weight, So once again, that's going to be different for everyone, but we want to make sure that we're working towards balancing our calories. So this is really important when it comes to listening to your belly, listening to your stomach. Am I hungry? Am I not hungry? Is this food, do I need this right now, or do I want this right now? Things like that, exercise. So that's the other tip, right? To, if a diet claims that you never have to exercise, probably not realistic either. We need to exercise at least 150 minutes per week of moderate to intense physical activity every single week, 150 minutes. So that's like, what is that? An hour and a half. So that might be like, maybe like 3 45-minute Zumba classes or something like that. But we also need 2 times doing strength training twice or more per week as well. And that's just general cardiac health. Okay, that's not someone who's going to do a fitness competition or an athlete. It's also not someone that's just your basics of just to keep a healthy, supportive heart. So you could eat perfectly, but if you're not moving your body in some way, chances are you're going to deal with the repercussions in some other form, right? We need muscle to support our organs, not fat. So you could be at a healthy, normal BMI, meaning you're at a normal body weight, but if you got if you did a body fat scan, your body fat would be really high, and we don't want fat supporting our organs. We want muscle supporting our organs, and that's achieved through physical activity. Okay, so 150 minutes per week of moderate to intense physical activity, and about 2 times per week of muscle-bearing exercises. With that being said, first of all, if you're not clear to exercise, don't. But if you are someone who sort of kind of exercises maybe once a week, then you want to slowly, same thing with the eating habits. You might be a terrible eater, but you want to slowly start to incorporate healthier eating habits, just like you want to slowly start to incorporate a healthier exercise regimen. Because realistically, if you go into exercise full force, or if you go into a nutrition plan full force, but it's all really, really new to you, it's probably not sustainable. But if we slowly kind of build, and once you get comfortable with it, once you start to feel really good, this is something that you feel like you can do, you can achieve. Once you have the fundamentals, then you can pick up the speed. Then that's something that you can work on a little bit further. But you want to have the basics down first, okay? And then lastly, I mentioned this in the beginning, but it's really, really important, is you need support. You need to either meet with a registered dietitian. You need to either join a group. I have free healthy lifestyle support groups on Facebook. If you just want like accountability, share ideas, share recipes, you might, want to join, I also have a VIP group, which is like you get the support from me as your dietitian. You might want to, once again, if you're working on part of being healthy, even though we're talking about diet, exercise is really part of that. So you might want to get a personal trainer to keep you accountable and make sure that you are, doing your workouts or know how to do your workouts, and you're learning the basics, the fundamentals first before kind of going off on your own, or maybe doing a program that you found online or something like that. All right. So I hope I convinced you guys to forget about all the diets that you read or hear about and just commit to healthier eating and exercising regularly. But if I didn't, no worries, because I'm going to be live again next week, 8 p.m. Eastern time, and I'm going to go into each diet out there, as many as I can, in 30 minutes or less, talk about the science behind it, if it works, if it doesn't work, and more importantly, who is it for, right? Because we all know most of these diets work if you do them and if you stick to them, but they also might not be for you, right? So we want to make sure that it's a diet that would be sustainable for you and actually beneficial for you in the long term. All right, so just going to go through my comments, see if there's anything I need to address. And it's almost 8:30, so I try to keep these 30 minutes or less. Thank you guys for tuning in. Someone said, I love food though. Yeah, food is fuel. You need to love food. So, enjoy your food, but eat the right amounts of it. Use healthy cooking methods. Adjust your taste buds to enjoy what's going to nourish your body. I love food too. I love food that it provides me with my energy. It provides me to keep me healthy. We have to start to look at food in a different way. Okay. Okay, so for those who waited till the very end, and I apologize that this discount code only works if you live in New York. But if you live in New York and you waited to the very end to watch this, you have a discount code to work with me one-on-one for your initial consultation. You would get $50 off, and the discount code is no more diets. Okay? No more diets. You get $50 off your first initial consultation working with me if you live in the New York area. And that's for watching this until the very end, which I so appreciate all of you for watching. This will go up on my YouTube channel tomorrow, along with the blog post that goes over everything. Once again, don't forget to subscribe to the Tips with Tony podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Libsyn, or YouTube. You can subscribe to my YouTube channel. The Gym Wicks, they're awesome. So if you haven't subscribed to them yet, subscribe and listen. And I think that's it. So next week, same time, 8 p.m. Eastern time, and we're going to talk about all the diets that are out there, and I'm going to try to break them down 30 minutes or less. All right? Thank you guys for tuning in. Have a wonderful night. Bye.